The number one answer to the question of how did you contribute to where this issue is a CEO or a leader saying, I should have made my expectations more clear. And so you are in control of that. You can slow things down, you can describe things in different ways from different angles, you can make sure there's buy-in, all those things.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
All right, here we have a special episode for you, the 2026 predictions for CEOs. These are about the shifts that will make your business or it will stall it. Let me start with a little something that most CEOs won't say out loud. The 2006 isn't going to crush your business, but it will expose it. The cracks in leadership, culture, pricing, decision-making, and focus that you could work around, those will stay hidden much longer. Growth feels heavier, decisions feel riskier, and the old playbook that things just aren't working the way they used to. Today, I'm going to walk you through the shifts that are already happening as we move into 2026. These are not headlines or hype. These are patterns showing up inside of the real companies right now. And at the end, we'll talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of AI of 2026, because that conversation is being oversimplified and it's already creating real risk for CEOs who aren't paying attention. So why should you listen to me? Well, my name's Gene Hammett. I work with exclusively the CEOs and executive teams that are running $5 million to $50 million companies. Now, some of those are a little bit bigger than that, but most of them are in that range. I've coached leaders across hundreds of fast growth companies, including many of the Inc. 5000. In fact, more than anyone else in the world. I spend every week inside real leadership conversations, not theory or trends. And my work focuses on clarity, leadership, and leverage, and removing the CEO bottleneck. Everything you hear today is based on what's already happening, supported by real data. So let's dive in. Prediction number one, recession-like behavior continues. It doesn't matter what the label is. The core truth, whether we officially call it a recession or not, the behavior has already changed. Maybe you're already seeing the signs in your business. Some other researchers and experts have said that 70 to 75% of CFOs say cost control and margin protection are higher priorities than growth. And B2B cycles are 15 to 30% longer than pre-2020 levels. I don't know if you're experiencing the same thing, but a lot of our clients are experiencing those two things across the board. The Federal Reserve Beige Book reports consistently cite continuous consumers, slow demand. So what's your move from here? You might want to simplify the things that you offer, services or products. You clarify the outcomes so that people truly know the value of them. And you build predictability, not just build a pipeline. And one of the coaching questions I'm going to add with every prediction should help you reflect a little bit on this. And so this is the coaching question that goes with this. Where are we still seeing and operating as if easy buying decisions will return on their own? Well, my take on this whole recession thing is I feel it in my own household because things are more expensive. They're, making decisions differently than we used to. And I know that others are at scale. I have clients that have inside data around the activity. One of them shared with me the other day, a merchant processor that we work with, that same store sales from a year ago for 1 month were down 20%. Just a regular month. I think it was back in October. And we're seeing this across the board in different ways. People are changing their buying behavior, and you're probably seeing your business. I've consumed a lot of information around other people making predictions. And one of them that kind of goes with this is the fact that people are delaying buying things when they don't have to because of the uncertainty in the market. Do what you will with all of this information, but I just wanted to share it with you and have a point of discussion and give you some data to back that up. So, and when customers become more cautious, pricing behavior is the next thing that changes. So that leads us right into prediction number two, pricing increases and shrinkflation continues. If you don't know what shrinkflation is, it's a gain that a lot of big companies make. If something was 15 ounces, they might not change the price, but they'll take it down to 12 ounces. And it might even be the same bag. So look at potato chips, look at other things inside of the things that you buy. This is very common practice at the dollar store. A lot of people don't know this. If you did a per ounce price of anything that you buy at the dollar store, for the most part, you could have bought it cheaper at your regular grocery store. Depends on where you shop, but just shrinkflation, just thought I'd understand that for you guys. Prices are not coming back down, and trust still is an issue for a lot of people. Consumer prices remain 20% higher or more than they were in 2009. 80 to 85% of customers say that they notice price or value changes. Margin protection increasingly shows up as reduced value, but not just higher prices. So what do you do as a CEO? Price with intention. I have one of my clients right now who hasn't raised prices in years and years and years, and they didn't want to raise prices. They got into a point where they feel like they need to raise prices to keep up with the price of cost, the raw goods that go into their goods, their products. And they also are at the bottom scale of their market. And they're feeling like there's a little bit of a trust when they're at that bottom, when they have a premium product. So I don't know where you are in your market because everyone's in a different place, but just price with intention. You want to communicate value clearly. A lot of the time, we think it's clear, but it's not as clear as it would be. You want to make sure that you slow down and really think about the value of the services of the products you have and communicate that through different angles, through stories, through testimonials, through user-generated stuff. And so that really is on you to communicate it more clearly. And another way you can do this is offer transparent choices and different ways of looking and discussing what you offer. So the coaching question that goes with this is, if you were a customer, where might your prices or value changes feel confusing or quietly frustrating? Just think about that. Maybe you talk about it with your team. But as pricing pressure rises, volatility becomes far more dangerous than slow growth. So that leads us right into prediction number 3. Predictability and stability beat aggressive growth. The core truth that I wanted to share with you about this is, in 2026, volatility hurts more than modest growth. So you want to make sure that you are paying attention to volatility in your markets, and you want to make sure that you are organizing things for predictable growth. Some of the signs that I'm seeing around this is predictable companies outperform volatile peers by 2 to 3 times in uncertain markets. And then boards and investors are increasingly prioritizing margin stability and cash flow. Capital rewards consistency, not chaos. So really big signals that are going on out there. Predictability revenue beats chaotic growth. I know I would take that any day of the week. I love the momentum of seeing things grow up gradually every month. Don't always happen, but I'd rather that than big spikes. What is the move you can make today? Design systems that produce repeatable results and reduce dependency on heroic effort. What I really mean by this is, you might have been able to pour in extra effort and energy, attention into things, and that may continue to work, but at some point in time, it will break down. And the coaching question that goes with this is, which parts of your business feel calm and repeatable, and which still rely on heroics to hit targets? So if you have to burn the midnight oil, if you have to put in the second shift after a family dinner, if you have to work weekends, at some point in time, it begins to break down. You want to make sure that you are creating scalability, empowering your team, delegating them, holding them accountable. And that's more important than you actually putting in the heroics of being the firefighter and coming in to save the day. And predictability collapses the moment everything still runs through the CEO. Let me say that again. And predictability collapses the moment everything still runs through the CEO. When you are focused on what you can do to grow your business, it might work, and it will work probably, and you probably can have some impact, but does it work at scale? Only you can answer that question. Prediction number 4, the CEO bottleneck becomes the number 1 growth killer. I know this is a big one for you guys, and maybe I need to explain this to you guys, but being indispensable feels responsible, but it also slows everything down. When you began your company, you probably were so heavily involved with the product or the code or the selling or whatever your zone of genius is. And it felt right because it was right. But at some point in time, when you get to a place, you've got to build people around you that can do those things, even if it's your zone of genius. If your zone of genius, you should be able to understand it simply enough, break it down into pieces, and be able to share it with others and coach them to be able to take it over. Eventually, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year, you can take that off your plate completely, or you only get pulled in for the really difficult things. And I've seen this happen with a number of clients. So just sharing that with you. Here are some of the signals that we're seeing. Centralized decision-making slows down by 20 to 40%. This is not going to be on your P&L, but you have to realize that you're missing opportunities if you are the one making these big decisions. CEOs at this stage spend 60% of their time reacting or operating. Now, a lot of people can relate to that firefighter feeling of going to work every day, having the things that you need to do, and then something happens, throws you off track. You get pulled into a problem, you get pulled into a decision that needs to be made, and this happens over and over and over. And you have no one to blame but yourself. One of the things that we really work with clients on is understanding these bottlenecks and choke points of your business and helping them work through that with their team. High growth companies push decision rights lower and earlier through the organization. You have leaders at all levels of the company that you can count on and trust. And I'm not saying everyone's going to be a leader, but what I'm saying that you have different types of leaders at different levels, and you can trust them and empower them. So what's your move on this? Redesign decision-making ownership. A lot of people think that they want to empower decision-making, but if I ask the CEOs, how do you make that decision? It comes back with, oh, it's a gut feeling. I've been doing this for years. I just know what to do. I know how to read the signals and the data. But have you documented that? Have you put that into a rubric? Have you put that into a framework that allows someone else to understand it and use it? Because then you can actually show someone and coach someone and teach someone, and then they use it and you coach them more, and eventually those decisions will be made in a very similar fashion to what you would do, but not based on just gut feeling. And this may require you to really think about how you make these decisions, but that's the power of creating those systems and frameworks within your business. You want to lead leaders, not manage tasks. What that means is you're developing them in their confidence. You're overcoming their fears. You're overcoming complacency. You're overcoming reactiveness. And you're not having to micromanage them with tasks, because that will be very slow as you progress. And you make clarity your primary job. I sat down with a client this past couple of weeks, and they wanted more urgency. And the core of having more urgency requires them to actually be more clear about what's important and what we're doing. And so even within my own company, I'm trying to really think about, how do I get even more clear than ever? How do we reinforce the priorities and really build the systems around this so that I get pulled out of any of those things and they just run without me, and then I can focus on the higher value stuff. Hopefully that's attractive to you. So what's the coaching question that goes with this? Where am I still the decision maker by habit rather than necessity? And what could break if I step back? If you think about this, I had a client of mine say this the other day, and I thought it was a very good compliment, but they said, before starting working to you, I didn't feel like I could take a vacation for even a week. I felt like things would fall apart. And he goes, after 4 years, and again, there's a lot of work that we did here, and we've grown the business. It went from about 8 million to close to 30 million. And over this time frame, he said to me just recently, I know I could go on vacation for a month, 4 full weeks, and the business would continue. Now, he did say it might not grow the way I want it to, but it will survive. We will maintain. And that's a level that when you get to, it feels really good, and you should celebrate that and realize that we can take more steps beyond that. But getting to the place where it will survive for a month without you, that means you could be pulled out of some type of work and you could be focused on a special project, and you could really put your head down. Or maybe you pick your head up and look across the landscape and the economy, and you are casting a bigger vision for the company to fall into. So even when the CEO steps back, growth still stalls if culture and expectations aren't clear. So that leads us right into prediction number 5. Culture becomes a performance system. Core truth here, culture is no longer about perks or vibes. Ping pong tables and pool tables and beanbag chairs and snacks and things like that don't matter as much as coming to work knowing that you're working with people that you trust, that are going to perform at the higher level, that communicate, that can debate with you in a healthy way. And there's a sense of clarity and accountability that everyone holds the standard to. Now, what are some of the signs and signals behind this? Fewer than 25% of leadership teams are truly aligned. when you think about that, are your teams in the more aligned or are they less aligned? If they're not fully optimized, then you've got some work to do as a CEO. Mismanagement or misalignment causes 30 to 50% execution delays. Execution delays can happen for many reasons, but if we're not aligned, if we can't make the decision based on what we have, then we spend a lot more time going back and forth. Or maybe we spend a lot more time trying to figure out where did it all fall apart. And I've had a lot of conversations with my clients that they spend, 90% of their time on firefighting, and they should be spending closer to about 50% of their time, at least, on fire prevention. Now think about that. Fire prevention is the proactively looking across in your business and going, where are likely problems to come from? This could come from people. This could come from process. This could come from technology. So you want to make sure that you are always scanning that and being in fire prevention mode. Higher performers are 2 times more likely to leave cultures that tolerate low performance. And that's just the kiss of death for any company out there trying to scale and grow, is losing a good employee. Now, I've talked to a lot of clients over the last 6 months. They've lost employees. Some of them have been okay to lose. Some of them want people to leave because there's no longer a fit for them, but they keep holding on to them. And then there's those that leave when they don't want them to leave yet. And I have helped them through different ways of doing this, many different things that we can do proactively. But you want to make sure that you understand that the cost of a high performer leaving could be 1.5 to 2 times their salary for you, not just to replace them, but to get that person onboarded and up to speed to where that high performer was. And that time is setting you back. That being said, your moves today, redesign roles around outcomes, really being clear about the outcomes that each role should want, the KPIs that go with that. Address issues faster. I know that's easy to say, but you want to make sure that you're tuning into some of these issues so that you can do the fire prevention as opposed to all your time on firefighting. And make expectations explicit. I wrote a book with my wife, Amanda, on how to have tough conversations. You can buy it wherever you buy books online, but you want to make sure that you are setting expectations, because the number one answer to the question of how did you contribute to where this issue is a CEO or a leader saying, I should have made my expectations more clear. And so you are in control of that. You can slow things down. You can describe things in different ways from different angles. You can make sure there's buy-in, all those things. So here's your coaching question today. What behaviors am I tolerating that quietly set a lower standard than the one I say I want? Great question. All right. Looking into the final prediction here, all of these shifts now collide with the single biggest accelerator of speed, AI. So we're going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to call this the good, the bad, and the ugly of AI 2026. So I'm not going real deep here. Maybe you've studied this in different ways. I probably looked at 50 videos in the last probably 2 months, and a lot of maybe 10 or 15 of those have been predictions about what's going on with AI, and bring this all together with you in this segment of the good, the bad, and the ugly. 70 to 80% of companies already using AI. Great. 20 to 40% productivity gains in real workflows. And we're seeing this in our workflows as well, because we're really embracing that operationalized to scale the business. We have cut staff in that ability to do that. And we're actually putting out more content in some areas, or we're doing other things using AI. But we also are trying to maintain the human element behind what we do, because we know that's very important. And so if you ever work with us, you'll understand that we don't treat you and send everything out as a robot. We're going to treat you like a human. Do we automate things? Do we have AI? Yes. But, and I encourage you to do the same within your operational, your business, no matter what industry you're in. Smaller teams are producing output once reserved for only larger organizations. So I've seen this with different clients, had 150 employees, they're able to go down to 135, or they might have 100 employees and they go down to 80, or they might have 15 employees and they can go down to 12. All that through the efficiencies and productivity of AI. Is it replacing people? Not really, because there still needs a level of directorness to this. I don't know if that's a word, but I made it up there for you. You need people who understand the prompts, of course. You need to understand even the agents, and there's many other concepts, and there's lots of free courses that you can dive into this with your teams. And I would encourage you guys to find some that would really help you in your business. Be curious about AI. Let's move into the bad of AI, because I think that this is really going to be something that people need to understand. It's not all helpful. Only 40% of companies report meaningful financial impact, meaning initiatives stuck in pilot mode and no owner or ROI. So I'm sure we've done this too in our business. We have tried to use AI in different ways, and it hasn't come out with the impact that we want. We're not creating content at scale using AI. This is not AI. This is, I'm not embracing the clones out there. I feel like that's going to come back and bite people, but I could be wrong. I like the human element. I like creating these podcasts for you and videos for you. So that being said, a lot of people are investing in things that aren't going to have a payoff. And so you just have to be mindful and selective about where you make that investment. Now the ugly. 40+% of agentic AI projects expected to fail. Think about that. People are spending millions of dollars and 40% of these projects will fail. And this is just the way things are. There's a rising trust in compliance and reputational risk. There's quiet misuse of AI tools without governance. There's a lot of things that people are doing with AI that I think just won't pay off in the long run. I encourage you to try things, but I want you to be selective and really do your work and lean into this. What can you do as a CEO? Well, AI is not a tech strategy. It's a leadership discipline. I think I've seen this in different places, but if AI lived in your IT department, we're so small, we don't have an IT department. I am, I guess, the IT department, which is scary. But you want to look at adopting an AI very selectively and making it a business decision, not just an IT thing. Because AI is technology, but when it is sitting under the control of technology, you get put in pilots and we're testing and making sure things are right. I'm not saying be cowboy about this and just, pull the trigger everywhere, but I am saying that you want to be very careful about this and be selective. So here's your coaching question. Where would adding AI amplify clarity and speed, and where would it simply accelerate confusion? You can't automate everything through AI. For example, I really feel like we're not there yet, but I think this is getting better all the time, is using AI for outbound sales or inbound customer service and things like that. I know customer service is probably a little bit easier with the outbound sales. I've been contacted by these things. They're not that good yet. And maybe it was the services that have been calling me, but there's still some work to be done before it's ready to be really replace workers on that. Can they use technology inside their tools and like AI to improve their level of service, handle more? Absolutely. So let's wrap up today with this. The 2026 does not reward effort. It rewards clarity, alignment, and leadership leverage. When you have clarity in your business and the project you're on and everyone around you does, you're able to execute with a lot more efficiency and a lot more urgency. When you have alignment, that means you are committed together. It is clear. We're not breaking down into silos. We have alignment that is truly on board together. You will execute at a higher level. And then leadership leverage is about creating new leadership models. Some of the simplest things you can do, if you want to learn how to be a better leader, we do a free training every couple of weeks, and you can sign up to be a better leader. Just go to training.corelevation.com. We take CEOs in there through a 90-minute experience. We talk about some of the common mistakes that are happening. We talk about some of the breakage points, and we also talk about the 5 steps that we walk our clients through. It gives you our process, and it doesn't give you everything, because that would be a 2-day, 3-day, or a week presentation. But in 90 minutes, I'm going to give you as much as I can. So if you want to sign up for that, it's absolutely free. Just go to training.corelevation.com. So let's wrap up today's episode. A little bit longer than normal, but if growth feels harder than it should, that's not a problem. That's information. If decisions feel heavier, that's not weakness. It's a signal that the game has changed. And if you suspect you might be the bottleneck, you're probably right. And that's actually good news, because understanding the problem allows you to be the solution. Because the CEOs who win in the 2026 won't work more, they will lead differently. And when you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, lead with courage. We'll see you next time.